Well, howdy, folks. DaveMan here again, Rollman Revolution. Now, let me crack this open for a second here. Gotta have the nectar of the gods, the good old Red Bull. I know. People tell me it's bad for me all the time, but you gotta die from something. I know that's kind of trivial, but anyway, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on over the past few weeks. I haven't recorded a lot of things because the news cycle, unfortunately, there's like decades that happened within a week under this Trump administration. Things that should have been going on in our government for many, many decades have not been going on, all of a sudden are starting to come to face. And everything that, Donald Trump is doing is what our government should have been doing in the first place. So I don't really want to center too much around that, but I do want to talk about some stuff that I think will get some of the younger folks and maybe some people that don't do a lot of thinking in their regular life because they're so busy with the everyday occurrence of the hamster on the wheel lifestyle. I'm going to try to see if I can talk to you a little about something that maybe you never thought about before. And maybe by thinking about this, it'll start to have you look at this world from a different perspective. My whole goal with the Rollman Revolution and kind of what I've been doing for years is to try to just get people to maybe think about things that they never thought about before. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the stuff that you learn, a lot of the stuff that we as individuals are taught from the moment we're born, we're just forced to accept. We're forced to accept them. So think about this for a minute. You come into this world, right? And you have two sets of parents, okay? You have a set of parents. Now, you didn't choose those, or did you? And even if you did, you're born into a certain religion. You're born into a certain social class. You're born into a certain demographic. You are born into all these things that you yourself didn't choose. Like you wake up one day, let's say if you're 4 years old, I don't know when your earliest memory is, but you wake up and you start to realize the impact that you have on the world. But if I do this, this will happen. If I do this, that will happen. But my question for you is that now you're born into a society, let's say the United States, okay? You're born into a system of a constitutional republic, right? Now, we're fighting constantly. Everybody around us is fighting. You're a liberal, you're a Democrat, you're a conservative, you're this. Everybody's got their ism, everybody's got their group, everybody's got their label, and everybody's fighting with each other over a system they themselves did not create, did not really sign on for. You were kind of like adopted into it, and you're forced in a sense to accept it for the way that it is. Now you can make these little changes over time, but indirectly, if you don't like the system, there really isn't any place for you to go. Think about it. We live in a world that is controlled by the people, these people, that say you can't go different places. You can't just go explore Antarctica or go to the North Pole or go into some random part of the ocean. There are limitations, there are restrictions that are being held by not only necessarily your government, but other governments of the world saying that you can and cannot do so many things. Now, what I try to get people to think about is this. You came into this world knowing nothing, right? That means that the people that came before you also came into this world knowing nothing. So the only things that they could learn were left from them or taught to them by people that came before them. Now, if those people were giving those new individuals that just came into the world bullshit, well, then it's very easy to disseminate bullshit down the line over the course of time, which that bullshit now becomes the truth. This is the foundation for everything that has gone forward. Have you ever thought about that? That the world that you're living in is something that is already controlled. There's already a set of rules that you yourself, again, didn't sign up for. You were brought into this. You young folks, okay, think about this. All of this elections, all of these politicians, money going this way, money. Nobody's really signed off for any of this. And most of us, that's why I've said many times on this show that we're all not that much different. We're all just absorbed by the actions, activities, the people directly involved in our lifetime that shape the way we think and interact with this space. But if you think about that for a minute, you have to trust every person and every teacher and every science manual and every person or thing that came before you is telling you the truth. Now, what if any of those people are not, or maybe they don't even know that they're not? Maybe they're just telling you the lines of bullshit that they believe is truth because that's the way they learned it. The only way we ever learn anything or know anything is by doing stuff. You have to physically do it. So if you got people going around the world saying, yeah, all of those people in that one country are just a bunch of savages, And then you go to that country and you realize, well, those people are really nice. So how did we go from these people are awesome to how did they become savages? Well, because if you don't know, it's very easy for somebody to say, well, that's what they are, because you have no idea. You either have to take them at their word for it or you don't. And too many of us, me included, throughout my entire life, I have trusted so many people that claim to be experts or have all of these diplomas that say they're experts, because why would I deny them? They've been studying this stuff for years. I've only just come across this stuff. But a lot of times I'm discovering is that my eyes, my ears, my nose, my mouth, all my senses are telling me a entirely different story. Now, why would that be? Now, why would it that science is telling me that the earth is a certain way, but my senses are telling me that it's entirely different? But the Bible tells you it's entirely different. So what are we really thinking about here? Are we asking the right questions? Are we debating about these issues still? You know, it's funny that in science, like once they've come to a conclusion on something, there is no room for debate about anything anymore. Academia is the same way. It's kind of like when somebody comes in and says, look, I got this new idea in regards to the topics you guys are discussing, a lot of times those ideas get squashed because if they are true, everything that science has been preaching for decades and decades and decades reduces to shit. And many people who have been in that field for years will realize, well, I've been wasting my time studying bullshit. And it sucks. But I don't understand why we continue down these lines. We continue down the line of, I would rather stay stupid and ignorant and follow along with what everybody has said before me and be part of the big group, because that's what the big group believes, rather than challenging the status quo. And I'm not talking about ridiculous stuff off the top that you can't prove. I'm talking about having a debated conversation about using logic, reasoning, critical thinking, and stuff that people were brought before. Bring the books, all of your information. You bring, all of your contrary information. And we sit down and we hash this out. It's weird in this country. We just assume that everybody who's standing in front of us, if they have a uniform or if they have a title, that they are in the know. But we have discovered over time that science has lied, our government has lied, intelligence agency lied. Why would you think that historians, or anything for that matter, also are not capable of this? Even religious people, even people who say that they're the teachers of religion. We don't know anything unless we do the work. And that's the truth about all of it. Then you have conversations with people who have done the work, and then you ask them questions, and you start hashing it out, and you start ripping it apart. It's like, the best way to determine or to clean something up is to just shake the living shit out of it, right? What does a hurricane do sometimes, or a good storm do? It shakes the trees, it shakes everything out to clean it out so we can kind of see what we got. This world has just been haymakered with just bullshit and nonsense and bullshit and nonsense, and somebody's attaching more of that on top of the previous person's bullshit to the point where nobody knows what's true anymore. And it's like, how are we ever going to get better as a species, as a human person? Wouldn't you like to know if there really was a God? Wouldn't you like to know? Well, you have all of these ancient books, which I don't believe are sufficient enough. I don't believe that they tell all the answers, but they're a good guide on a lot of what's kind of going on here. And if we look at those things, it gives us a historical background to which science, for whatever reason, doesn't want us to believe or know. And the question I have to start asking myself is why? Why is it that science doesn't wants you to believe that you're this purposeless nothing spent off on the middle of some galaxy out in the middle of bumfuck Egypt in the middle of nowhere, right? And it's just a fluke that you were even here, rather than a purposeful creation made on a purposeful planet or Earth or whatever the heck it is, with all of these things designed for you. Well, the whole reason for that is people would stop pursuing whatever the creator would be, or whatever the thing was that created this, and start focusing on something that does not exist. Looking into the sky and imagining these planets and these beautiful pictures that they designed for us, because it gives us an image of something that doesn't exist. You're shooting for something that doesn't exist. If that is true, and again, like I said before, I don't have any proof of any of this stuff, but if we don't talk logically about these things, if that is true, then you have to ask yourself, well, why would they be doing this? Why would governments, academia, all of these major industries that play a large role on our education, knowledge, and understanding of how this place operates, why would so many of these industries go over the top to try to steer people away from what really the truth is? I ask these questions on a regular basis. And I've had conversations with people sometimes, and I know this is an offensive topic for some people. I often think that there's a lot of human beings on this planet that are walking around like NPCs in a video game. You've heard of the term NPC, a non-playing character. They believe that they're part of the game. If you ask them, hey, are you conscious? Yeah, I'm definitely conscious. But there are a lot of people that don't ask questions about really what's going on here. Like I've said many times on this show, we're having a conversation right now. How is this even happening? Okay, how did this happen out of the fucking blue of nothing? We're doing this. How is that happening? And no Bible, no scripture, no nothing on this plane has ever significantly answered that question for me. Okay, and so I wonder, I ask questions myself, and then I wonder, how are all these smart people so good? I asked myself this question one day, history has told us that, the people like before like the 1900s, before that, it was very primitive. You didn't have power or anything. Everybody was using, old ways of doing it, living in log cabins, really struggling through winters, the clothes making, everything was just tough, right? And then all of a sudden, all these inventions, everybody just got really smart. And they say, oh, because of electricity and because of this and because of that. And then all of this. It's just weird how all of a sudden, boom, out of nothing, all these inventions just shot up. And now we're in this technological world, but yet you still look around you and you see buildings like the ones in Washington, D.C., like the Sistine Chapel in Rome, go to Hungary, in Prague, or any of these places in, like Czechoslovakia, and you look at some of the streets and you look at some of the buildings and you ask yourself, look, there was not many people back then, according to what history tells us. But apparently, these people were just all mastered architects, all master masons, all master everything. They could build tunneling systems. They could do it all. Never made a mistake. Always perfect. These buildings last the test of time. And yet, while we are told they were building these buildings in the late 1800s, it's funny. We were living in log cabins because we couldn't build them. But history tells us that our ancestors built these things. The history, the timeline, and the narratives that they've told us, in my opinion, don't add up to a lot of what it is that this world tries to portray. It just doesn't. And until human beings start looking at each other as not the enemy, we're all on a journey trying to discover what this is. We've all come into this world not knowing a goddamn thing about really what this is all about. But we're told by everybody, hey, you got to be a Christian, you got to be a Jew, you got to be a Muslim, you got to be this. That's the right religion and that's the wrong religion. This is the right way to live and that's the wrong way to live. You got all these people telling you orders, yet they came in the same way you did, knowing nothing, learning everything from this apparatus. But what if this apparatus is flawed? What if some of the things, not all of them, but some of the things that have been introduced into the system are totally designed to give us a warped sense of the reality of what really is going on here? Have you ever asked yourself that question? And if you don't ask these questions, ask yourself why. It's okay to wonder. It's okay to wonder what the hell is going on here. I'm blown away by how many people have never had a conversation about this or just don't care. And if you are, that's an NPC. That means you're just going along with whatever the program has given to you and you've accepted it. You don't care. As long as I get my football in on the weekends, and as long as I get my beer, as long as I get this, as long as I get that, that's fine. It's your life. You have the choice to play it out that way and just run the programs that they've laid out for you, or you can engage in it. Wonder, ask questions. Be assertive, be concerned, and ask the questions about why. Why is this all happening? Look, we are much more powerful than this world wants us to know. For some reason, they don't want us to know how special each and every conscious person is, the abilities that they could produce, the abilities that they may bring to the world. But it's funny how there are so many obstacles put in place to try to purposely harm, purposely demean, purposely take down a notch human existence. And I often wonder, because the only way to really house power or to control power when you have this many people is to weaken them in so many different ways, to keep them unbalanced, to constantly have them arguing with each other. Because if they're arguing with each other, they're not arguing with the power structure. And we have got to stop that. We have got to stop arguing amongst each other in a way that where we think that these little idiosyncrasies, these little minuscule details about our life that they've put into the public sector, which are not, they're mostly private issues that don't usually interrelate with most of society. It just doesn't. Society is pretty good, I believe. I think most people just want to be left alone. They want to just have a good life with the things that they do and make a decent living, play out with their family, have some children, maybe just go on some vacations. Nobody's asking for a lot. I've said this so many times, but yet it's become so impossible today. So improbable to even hope for a future in which something like that could exist, because you have a power structure that has set up the system in a way that has all of us fighting with one another, thinking that we are our side. We got to vote for that D. We got to vote for that R. It's MAGA this. It's Democrat that. It's liberal this. It's Israel, pro-Palestine, pro-Ukraine, pro-Russia, pro-this, pro. It's switching it all up, causing us constantly in a state of unbalance, so that we continue to keep falling off and not holding the things that we put in power accountable. Look, these people don't have a job, technically, according to the way the structure system is, if we didn't give it to them. We are lending them authority. And if they do not do what they say they're supposed to do, then we get rid of them. It's up to us. The power that we have in this stupid apparatus, it could be taken tomorrow if we all just woke up. Now, I know that sounds like a large ask. It really comes down to you. It really comes down to what you want and the world you want. But if you're okay with just playing along with the way the system is, it will play itself out the way it wants to. And when it gets to the final chapter, you are not going to like the solution. I'm telling you, you're not going to like the ending. The whole purpose of life is to engage in it. It's a mystery. Now, what was that word? The mystery of life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. This reality, to whatever reason, has been taken over by something. Something that has tricked us in so many different ways to see this place as entirely different than what it really was meant for, in my opinion. Now, who is doing that and why is an entirely different subject matter. You know, all of the other things that surround religion and all of the other power dynamics in the world, that's an entirely different question, because I have my own theories on that as well. But I'm not here to kick anybody's belief system. I'm just asking people to understand why they believe what they believe, how do they come to those conclusions. And again, you really don't know what you know until you've done the work. Because like I said, we've all come in here not knowing anything and have trusted the power structure and the people in our lives to tell us the truth. And we've either accepted those truths or we didn't. We either said that, yes, that's true, or that person or that thing is full of shit. We've either turned it on or turned it off. The binary system, yes or no, this or that, up or down, right? So your whole life and the beliefs that you have are all been created by that system, unless you have done the work and actually re-examined what you believe, why you believe it, how you came to those conclusions. Do you really know? Do you really know? Or did just somebody tell you? The reason I say this stuff is because I watch constantly how people interact with each other, how groups kind of come together and what those kind of groups do. And I noticed over the last few months, MAGA, this MAGA revolution in the United States, you have a large amount of people that were not part of the same team for many, many years, because everybody was in different camps. And as more people start to realize that it's just us versus this power structure that has never really shown themselves. It's a power structure that works behind the scenes, that puppeteers a government that you and I believe is supposed to be representing us, but is not. So as people start to realize that this has been screwing us over, more people start coming to this same movement. But we come from different backgrounds with different ideologies and different thoughts, because our lives have been shaped by the people and the societies and the teachers and all that other stuff that's been part of our life. But we have to realize that we have to listen to each other. We have to open lines of communication. We got to stop jumping to conclusions. We got to be patient, because this is an organic thing. This has never happened in the United States. And it is a very wild time to be alive, because things are changing in the matter of moments today. But I want people to just understand one very important thing. You have the power to move anything in this world if you're willing to use that power. And it's going to rain here in Florida, but there is so much power that you have, and so much that people don't want to use or are afraid to use or are told they're not good enough or can't do it. So they don't do anything with it. And then 25, 35, 40 years goes by and they look back on their life and go, damn it. What did I do this for? I just went along with all these programs and just listened and trusted the system, and the system lied to me, it betrayed me, it did not have my back. But if you guarantee that it does, if you go out there every single day and make sure that the people that said that they have your back do in fact do what they say they're going to do, the world changes tomorrow. It's just about being astute. You don't have to love it and live it and bleed it, but you have to be aware of what's going on around you and truly know what you know. Truly understand really what's going on. Not what somebody told you, not what Chris Hayes or Rachel Maddow or one of the friggin' talking heads or even me told you. It has nothing to do with that. It's about engaging yourself so that you know. And nobody's going to know about everything, but you can usually tell, especially if you've been watching people talk for a long period of time, if they're full of shit or not. You have people in your friends groups that you know, the one that always is just running their mouth about nonsense and they really don't know what the hell they're talking about, but you put up with them because they've been your friend for a very long time. Everybody's got that person, right? But at the same time, nobody believes anything that person says. And we need to do this with politicians or leaders or even people in the highest levels of churches, because everyone's human and everyone has the ability to be corrupted. Not all will be, but we need to look at these things with a fine-tooth comb because it's your future. And if you don't care and you just let them write the script whatever way they want to, they will. And you will not like the outcome. I'm tired of getting on the hobby horse every single day, busting my balls to have nothing. And I know many of the people that I talk to are the same. So why is there such a huge division in this world? Why is there such a huge division in this country? Because everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants to be part of the right team, rather than getting the goddamn problems right. And I don't mean to use that, but if we don't focus on the problems, the real issues, the common denominator, it doesn't matter who's right. It's about getting it right so we can all benefit from it. It's not right versus left, Democrat versus Republican. We all live in the middle. We're all basically on the same boat, and we're all friggin' seasick together. We just need to recognize that. We're not going to agree on everything, but that's the stuff we debate about. We don't shut each other out and say, you're stupid. You've got to come to the table and talk about logical reasoning. And if you can't, go back, study, learn everything you know about the issue. And most of the times, especially if you're a person who really hasn't investigated some of these things, you will be quite surprised at the information you find out about the things you believe to be true that were not. I cannot tell you over the last 15 years how many times I've been knocked on my ass about things that I had fought for and preached for and realized in the aftermath that I had no idea what I was talking about. And as you get older, you start to choose your words a little bit more carefully because you realize that sometimes you really don't know all of what you're talking about. And if you can catch yourself in mid-sentence, like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't say that because I really don't know, it's going to make you a better person. It's going to make this world a better place because we got to stop talking in platitudes of bullshit. We got to really know what we know. And if you don't know, you don't have to say anything. It's okay not to know, but you can find out. It's about learning. It's about growing. But it's also about, this is how family operates. Think about your family. The United States is one big family. We all have different states. We all have different ways of viewing things. But ultimately, we all want the same thing. We all want to be kind of left alone. We all want to be able to do our thing within the letter of the law. We want to be able to have the life we want with the people that we love, and be able to have a job that pays really well so that we can experience this world in a more profound way. Everybody wants that. But yet we're fighting over these little idiosyncrasies that mean nothing and don't affect most of us in the real world. It just doesn't. What happens on in your household is none of my business. As long as it doesn't break the law, that is your business. And that same goes for me. And we're all like that. And every family, think about a family. If the United States is one big family, think about your just immediate family. There are people in your family you don't really get along with. You may not, they say stuff that like you want to go, ooh. But at the end of the day, you love them. They're annoying. At the end of the day, if that person needed something, at least I would hope this is the way you live, that you want to do something. And if we don't have families like that, this is part of the reasons why, because we've created these divisions. These divisions are stupid. Most of the time, they are dumb. And if we could start to learn from each other and start talking to each other again, start building each other up, this world becomes a better place overnight. We need more people thinking. We need more people critically thinking, but also fighting for the stuff that these people try to enslave us with. It's got to get better, and the only way it does is through the power you have. You have. Donald Trump or any leader is only as powerful as the people who give him that power. Now, Trump was given a mandate to clean this shit up. And he surrounded himself, in my opinion, with the best crew possible. But you still have people within the new MAGA movement that are just screaming out obscenities about, oh, Pam Bondi this, and it's just, oh, this person's a shill, and what's Cash doing, and nobody's patient about it. Nobody wants to just calm down and just say, wait a minute. Pump the brakes. We just got in here. Let's figure this out. We got to do this right this time. If we are truly going to fix this and make sure that this never happens again, we can't miss a crossed T or a dotted I. The courts have become completely politicized. You have judges legislating from the bench making these decisions that make no sense. And it's all designed to screw you and I over. But yet, the media frames it in a way such that we believe and divide us more. It's all done on purpose. The media's their whole purpose is to instill these little seeds. Drop a little seed here. Rachel Maddow, maybe a person, especially a person who doesn't pay attention to this, just drop a seed here. Get them to think maybe this is what's really going on. People like that are dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I'm not saying that people don't have the right to say what they want to say, but if you take people at their face value, at their word, especially with those who have been caught many times preaching bullshit and nonsense, then it's you have to be careful because you become dangerous. We have to be better people. It's up to us. We have a responsibility for ourselves not to spread bullshit, not to talk about things and speak about things that we really don't know. And it's okay to talk about them, but you could just say, I don't know. I really don't know, but this is what I think. But that's not what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people online, a lot of people in the mainstream love to frame stuff as if it's fact when it isn't. It's this premise or this idea inserted to make you think that's really what's going on when it isn't. It's all wordplay. And we got to be better than that. And in my opinion, I can see this golden age that Trump is talking about. But it only happens if the people recognize the power that they have. And they start putting down the labels. They start getting rid of black, white, Hispanic, girl, male, female, this, that, trans. You got to get rid of all the labels. All the labels go. We're just people, Americans, American citizens, generalized. A generalized label. Once you start slapping on these particular adjectives, think about it. You're just, from the moment you're born, you're given a ton of adjectives. You're a female. You're given this name. You're part of this family's name. Okay? And then you got to get all these other types of documents that tell you who you are. You need people to tell you who you are? Or do you know who you are? Do you know what you believe? Do you know how you came to those conclusions? Because if you do, that makes you a dangerous monster in the world, but for the good. We need monsters. We do. But we need the monster to be on the side of good. There's too much evil in the world. There's too much lying in the world. And all that does is create more suffering. And don't you think that this world is designed for suffering on itself? I mean, really, from the moment you're born, you start to die. There's problem after problem after problem. Life is a big, big struggle. And you have people up there making it harder for you, more difficult for you. And then they divert the attention so that you don't pay attention to them. You pay attention to your neighbor who's the Democrat or the Republican, and you start to fight over stupid things. It's all done on purpose. But we're going to get everyone smarter. My goal is to teach this new, younger generation to be better than my generation. And my generation was the Generation X. We were the ones that didn't give a shit about anything. We kept to ourselves. We put up with crap. Sticks and stones might break my bones, but names never hurt me. That's what our whole generation was about. We didn't worry about all this. We didn't have a safe space and have to worry about our feelings getting hurt. Okay? You bury your feelings. You deal with your own crap because that's what men did. And that's what men can still do. We're tough. We're much tougher than they keep saying. We're not wimpy. And I'm going to make the next generation even tougher, even smarter, even faster, even better, even more quick-witted so that they can't be bamboozled by the bullshit that has been constantly been disseminated for the last 50, 60 years. At least the stuff that I've been seeing. Nope. This new age, this new generation is going to take us into the next golden age. I think Trump is right about that. But we got to get them smart. Share this video if you wouldn't mind. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, because again, I'm competing against people out there who are trying to diss the message that I'm basically trying to bring, the power that you have, telling everybody that it's just a waste of time. No, it's not. You are not a waste of time. You are not an accident. You are a purpose-made creation. Why that is entirely up to you to believe and figure out on your own, but there is something about this place. I don't understand it entirely, but it was definitely made. It's definitely not what science is telling you, and it is definitely much more important for whatever reason than you have been made known. It's up to you to figure that out. I hope to see you all on the battlefield. Don't forget how powerful you are. You can move mountains. You can do things that you never knew were possible. But you first have to believe it. I'll see you out there, my friends. Take care. Talk with you soon.